All right, in this video we're going to look at ordering fractions. You already have a bit of knowledge about probably how to do this because the previous week you looked at simplifying or comparing fractions, and when you do that you basically need to have the same denominator. For some fractions you can tell which one's smaller and which one's bigger. But for others, it isn't as straightforward. So the easiest way to do that is to find the common denominator and then rewrite that fraction with that common denominator. So in question one, we're going to just state the lowest common denominator of the following set of fractions. When you're when you're ordering fractions, you don't necessarily have to have the lowest common denominator. Because when you're making a comparison, the comparison can be made with any denominator as long as they're the same. But we will focus on just finding the lowest common denominator because you can make things more complicated than they need to be. Now, the easiest way to find the lowest common denominator is we've got to find the lowest common multiple. So basically you can write out all your multiples if you like to. So if we were doing 3, we would have 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, and so on. And for 5, we have 5, 10, 15, and so on. So I've stopped at 15 because that is the lowest common multiple, 15. So basically we would need to convert 1/3 into a fraction over 15 and then 3/5 to a fraction over 15. Now in doing this you need to, whatever you have increased the denominator, this bottom number by, you must do the same to the top. Okay, so to get 3 to 15, what do we multiply that by? We had to multiply that by 5. And 5 to get to 15, we multiplied that by 3. So whatever we do to the bottom, we have to do to the top. So times 5, and this one was times 3. So I'm just going to go back to blue. Okay, so 1 times 5 is 5. And then 3 times 3 is 9. So which one is bigger? I'm just going to circle it for now. It doesn't say in the question that you have to do it, but we're focusing on ordering fractions, so you do need to know the order. So 5 over 15 is smaller than 9 over 15. So if we're putting them in order, that is it. Now let's look at the next one. Okay, so 2/4 and 3/5. Now, I think the easiest way to find a common multiple is just to multiply, I'm going to write this here, multiply the denominators. Now this isn't always going to give you the lowest common denominator, okay, but it will give you a common denominator. So if we're going to multiply the denominators, it's 4 times 5, which is 20. Okay, and that just happens to also be the lowest common denominator. Okay, so we're going to write both our fractions over 20. So the first one, 2/4, I multiplied that 4 by 5 to get to 20. So I also have to do the same to the 2. So up the top I have 2 times 5, which is 10. And then what did I multiply this 5 by? I multiplied it by 4 to get to 20. So I do the same to the 3. So that's 12. Okay, and that just happened to be in order as well. Let's do one more. Okay, so we'll do G because we've got 3 there. Now we've got 2, 3, and 4. Now, again, we're finding the lowest common denominator, but you can also just find a common denominator. Now I'm dealing with 2, 3, 4. You can multiply them all together to get a common denominator, but I'm just going to multiply the 3 and the 4. Okay, so 3 times 4, which gives you 12. So in doing that, I know 3 is a factor and so is 4 of 12. And then because it's an even number, so is 2. So I can write half as a number over 12, 2/3, and 3/4 all over 12. So I'm going to do that in red. Okay, so what do I multiply the 2 by to get to 12? I multiply it by 6. This is why it's extremely important you need to know your times tables. Okay, so this so a half is the same as 6/12. What do I multiply the 3 by to get to 12? I multiplied it by 4. So we've got the 8 here, and then what do I multiply the 4 by? It's 3. Okay, so they're in order already, so we don't have to order them. But for this one here is finding the common denominator. So again, sometimes it's easier just to multiply your denominators. Okay, so let's move on. Your answers are there if you want to continue on with those questions. Okay, so fill in the gaps to produce equivalent fractions. So this is kind of what we were doing before. So you ask yourself, well, what did I have to multiply this denominator to get to this denominator? So for this one, the first one, we had to multiply it by 3. So I'm just going to write in 3 here, very small, hopefully. And then I do the same to the top. Okay, so 2 times 3 is 6. And that's all you have to do. So the purpose of this one is just to see how you can get this numerator here. All right, so I've skipped B, so you can have a go at B. Let's do C. So what do I multiply that 4 by to get to 16? We multiply it by 4 and then do the same to the top. So we have 4/16. And then let's skip to E. What did I multiply that 8 by to get to 40? It's 5. And then we do the same to the top. So it's 15. Okay, so have a go at doing B, D, and F. Okay, so if you need to pause, you can. All right, so question 13 now, we're putting it into practice and you have to put the fractions in ascending order. So ascending means from smallest to biggest and descending means from biggest to smallest. Okay, so the first one, you can see we have the same denominator, which makes it a whole lot easier, but we have a proper fraction, an improper fraction, and a mixed number. So this mixed number might make it a bit difficult to compare, or this improper fraction. Okay, so what I'm going to do is have to rewrite either the improper fraction or the mixed number. I think it's easier just to get everything as an improper fraction, but it's a personal preference. So if you wanted to change the 8/5 into a mixed number, you can. So 1 2/5 becomes 7/5. Okay, so we want to put that in order now. So the smallest is 3/5, then we have 7/5, then 8/5. And if you can, rewrite them as they were originally written. So 3/5, 1 2/5, and then 8/5. Now, I've had quite a few students ask me what they should write in their books, exactly what I'm doing, okay? So see how I've got all my working? I just don't want to see an answer there, okay? Because that answer implies to me that, well, where is your thinking? And even if you've done your thinking in your head, which is fine, there should still be something on your page. Okay, we're not doing basic maths here. We're doing stuff that requires probably some written work. So make sure you're actually writing something. And I am extremely happy in seeing a page full of numbers and scribbles, maybe diagrams, arrows, whatever, than what I am with seeing A to K and then the one number answer next to them. Okay, so make sure you show your work. I'm more interested in seeing working out than what I am in seeing a neat workbook. But at the same time, if you can do your working out neat, that is good. All right, let's skip a few and do E. Okay, so I'll just circle E. The reason I chose E is that we've got 4 fractions now. We've got a mixed number, 2 improper, and another mixed number. Okay, and we've also got different denominators. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is rewrite them all as improper fractions. Okay, so 2 1/4 we'll deal with first. So 2 1/4. So we do 2 times 4 is 8 plus 1 is 9. So we have 9 quarters, and the other one I have to convert is 3 1/3. So 3 times 3 is 9 plus 1 is 10. If you're unsure about how to convert this, you need to go back to, I think, week 1, okay, and revise that. Okay, so make sure you can understand how to do this, otherwise you can't do ordering fractions. Okay, so let's rewrite them all. So we have 9 quarters, 11 quarters, 5 halves, and 10 thirds. Now we need to find the lowest common denominator of all these. Now, as I said in the previous example, if you take your 2 highest denominators, which are 4 and 3 in this case, multiply them by 2, so that's 12. 12 is an even number, so 12 is our lowest common denominator. Now, I'm just going to write in red, okay, what we're going to multiply them all by to get to 12. So this one here, 4 times what gives me 12? It's 3. Can we do the same to this one? 2 times 6 gives me 12, and 3 times 4 gives me 12. So whatever I do on the bottom, remember I have to do the top. Okay, so I'll go back to blue. All right, so I'm going to rewrite these. So 9 times 3 is 27. 4 times 3 is 12. Remember, we're getting all the denominators to be 12, so you should know that you don't really have to do the denominator. What's that one? 5 times 6, can't even read my own handwriting. There we go. And then 40 over 3. Oops, sorry, I knew I made a mistake. I was just looking at it, I was like, that is not right. And it's 12. Yeah, I was pausing because I was thinking, but you're probably thinking, what is she doing? Okay, the smallest number. So we just, because our denominators are all the same, now we just look at the numerator. So the lowest numerator is 27 over 12. Then the next one is 30 over 12. Then 33 over 12. And then 40 over 12. Now technically we should convert it back into what it was originally. So remember the 9 quarters, which became the 27 over 12, was our 2 1/4. If you could do this, that's absolutely fantastic. I don't mind if you, actually I would like you to do the next step, but getting to this is the difficult part. Okay, so 30 over 12 was the third one, so 5 over 2 as it was written. All right, 33 over 12 was our second one, so 11 over 4. And then the last one is, where are we? 3 1/3. Okay, so this is the hard part, okay, getting them like that. But then just see how I've kept them all in line. Okay, and I would actually, if I had space on my screen, put this underneath, just so you can remember, well, 9 quarters is 27 over 12, 11 quarters is this, and so on. Okay, so there's a few tricky ones there, but remember there's solutions here as well. Okay, so you can see how they're done. But this is quite a tricky topic. So do make sure you take your time and do ask for help if you need it. Okay, good stuff.